guys, welcome back to my show. Once again, I have a really special guest with me today. Some of you may already know her from her contribution to the 39 Clue series, and some of you may know her individual solo work like Among the Hidden and the whole series that goes along with that. I have Margaret Peterson Haddix with me on the show today. Hi Margaret, how are you today?
Oh, I am doing well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course, so please introduce yourself and maybe talk to us about your latest book.
Sure. I'm Margaret Peterson Haddix, and I have written actually my latest book is my 50th book. So that was kind of a big deal that I hit that number. But I have a variety of series, including the Shadow Children series, which includes Among the Hidden. I did one of the books in the 39 Clues series, which was done by a variety of different authors. My newest book is actually the second book in a series. The series is called Mysteries of Trash and Treasure. And the second book is called The Ghostly Photos, and it is about these two kids who have started kind of solving mysteries in their hometown. And in the ghostly photos, they are given a rather unusual challenge in that a girl shows up and asks them if she would prove that pictures that she has are not pictures of a ghost, and that the house that she and her family has just moved into, that it is not haunted. And it's kind of an interesting way for them to have to approach things to prove that something doesn't exist, which is, as I'm sure you know, a very difficult thing to prove.
That's honestly a very interesting plot point, and anyone interested in this book, I'll be linking Margaret's website in the show notes, so feel free to check that out. And all the books are available on everywhere, like local bookstores, libraries, online reading apps, and all those things. So I'll be linking that. Feel free to check that out. So Margaret, what really has been your inspiration to write these mystical stories?
Well, I've had a variety of inspirations over the years. With this particular series, I started thinking about why people keep the things they keep and why people give away the things they give away or they don't care about. I started thinking about that in the midst of the pandemic, right at that point when suddenly everybody was staying at home. And it seemed like so many people that I knew, once they could not leave their house, essentially, they kind of looked around and they're like, we've got to get rid of this junk. And so they were posting on social media about, look at everything that I'm getting rid of, look at how clean my basement and attic is now. And it really made me think about what possessions mean to us and why something, it might be really valuable to one person that somebody else would be like, oh, that is garbage, throw that away. So that was kind of the background of how I started thinking about it. And so I ended up in the first book in that series, the kids are solving a mystery from things that happened about 50 years ago to two other kids. And so I got to stick things from the 1970s in there and kind of hopefully introduce modern kids to things from the past that they probably wouldn't have been aware of.
I mean, I think it's a very unique concept, as I said earlier, right? I feel like mystery, right? You kind of tie it into your daily life too, right? Every day is a mystery. We have no clue what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds or even the next millisecond, because everything is just not laid out right in front of us. It's coming from all sides. So I think just mystery in general is just part of our daily routine at this point.
Yeah, that's a good philosophy. I think that we might think that we can plan our lives, but there are always things that happen that we're not expecting.
Absolutely. So has this ever played into your stories or into your life, where you kind of feel like you want to do something, but then life takes a sudden turn and then you have a new plot point or a new story happening within your own life?
Yeah. Sadly, most of the time when something like that happens, it's something that I don't want to have happen, like a flat tire or, this is fresh in my mind because this just happened to my husband and me this weekend that we had some friends over and I had gotten ice cream because we were going to have ice cream. And so I pulled the ice cream out of the freezer and it was kind of more like ice cream soup. And that was how I found out that our freezer wasn't working properly. And that was not what I had on my agenda, to figure out why our freezer wasn't working properly and to try to troubleshoot and fix it. So, it's things like that that throw you off. And I realize in the scheme of things, it's kind of, I don't always have this attitude, but it can also be a reminder of, we're really fortunate to have a lot of the things that we do have and the things that we can take for granted. Right now, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and right now we're in the midst of a heat wave. And I was thinking, I'm very grateful for air conditioning right now. So having something not work correctly is a good reminder of these are things that you should be grateful for on a regular basis.
For sure. I mean, just having that, like, that sense of gratitude, or the sense of, like, being happy for what you have and not complaining about, I don't know, not having like a Tesla, or not having like anything like big that you really, really want. I think it just puts things into perspective as well, to show how great your life is going.
So I will admit that a lot of times when something like that happens, it takes me a while to get to the moment of, oh, this is a reminder to be grateful. I do have that moment of, oh, this is so frustrating, and why is this happening to me? But I try to turn it around. And sometimes I succeed.
I think, that's something that happens to everyone. Even for me, like, whenever something bad happens, that's like the same question comes to mind. You always think that, why does this happen to me? When the right question to be asking is, how can I use this to my advantage and use it to be, improving my well-being?
I will say that is one of the great things about writing fiction, that a lot of times bad things happening make the best stories. And so when something happens to me that I'm not expecting, a lot of times I very quickly move into a mode of, ooh, how could I use this in a book? This was kind of an interesting experience for me to have, but what would it be like for one of my characters? And how could I maybe fictionalize it a little bit? The experience that I had that is mildly interesting, how can I fictionalize it and make it more dramatic and more impressive, and therefore more interesting, hopefully, to readers?
I completely agree with you. Honestly, for me, I'm like, I write stories as well as like write songs. And I think with songs as well, you're trying to tell a story. And so, well, for songs, it's not always fictionalized. Sometimes my own experience, sometimes just other things. But like, oftentimes when you have like a situation happening, like maybe, like, for example, in your case, the freezer not working. If I were kind of spinning a story on it, it'd be like, the start of an apocalypse where like every like gadget starts malfunctioning, and then humans are on their own without any electronic help or without any kind of support apart from themselves. So that could be like an interesting storyline.
And it's also, I think that kind of thing also provides a pretty good commentary on how reliant we have become on technology and the things around us. For example, we'll go back to my freezer, not that it's the most interesting example, but this is the first time I'd had the experience of this. It's a smart freezer, so that we just needed to have an app and just hold the phone up to the refrigerator part of it and hit a button, and then basically the refrigerator freezer told the cell phone what the problem was. And that's the kind of thing that's just amazing to me that can happen.
For sure. I mean, like, I feel like technology has just come super far, not even just in terms of like the materialistic version of technology, even like the non-materialistic ones like AI. Although, to be fair, AI can be considered materialistic too. I'm not sure about that, but AI, I think, has definitely come way beyond its years.
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny that you bring that up, or maybe not so funny because it's all around us right now. But I've been doing research about AI because it's going to play a part in the next book that I write. And I'm torn between fascination with it's really genius on the part of a lot of people who have worked to get AI to the place that it is. So I have a fascination with it, and I see a lot of good uses for it, but I also have concerns about the impact that it could have on individual humans and also on society as a whole.
Absolutely, because like the thing though is, right, AI, as you said, right, it has this benefit, like, you can use it to fast forward some of the processes, but at the same time, AI is still a robot. It's still not a human being, which means any and all ideas it'll give you will be very two-dimensional. It may seem like, okay, this is a good idea, but at the end of the day, you as a creative, AI can be used for like those tiny tasks, like maybe delegating who's doing what job, what the editor kind of needs to focus on, or what the writer needs to focus on, but it cannot really give you a full rundown of what the story has to be.
Yeah. And it also fascinates me. I've seen, well, I know that there are things that if you do a search for something, and sometimes if the AI doesn't have the information, the artificial intelligence makes stuff up. So it is sometimes less reliable, and that's very worrisome if we can no longer trust the information around us. And I am very curious about what's going to happen with all of that. I have worries about it, but it also is fascinating to see how it's working.
And I think, like, as you said, as you have like mentioned earlier too, right? With AI, especially with like non-reliant sources and things, if you think about it, they really do pull sources from like everywhere. So sometimes they do not even have the permission to use that information and give it to us. On the same hand,
go ahead. Sorry.
On the same hand, though, they also have like for research specifically, like anyone listening to this episode, this is like a major plot point to keep in mind is that never use AI for research. GPT, Gemini, whatever it is, whatever AI source you use, just never use for research, because as Margaret just said, you never know what's reliable and what's not, and you do not know your sources either. You cannot quote or cite AI as a source. That's automatically like a 0 if you're doing it for a class.
That's very interesting, and that's probably a very good strategy, that you should not be too reliant on it. And I know it would be very easy for students if you could just go to AI and then get all the information and then turn that in. It would be very tempting to do that because that's much easier, but not good if it's not going to be accurate.
So my next question for you, kind of revolving around not just AI, but like just mystery in general. Mystery and AI kind of go very well hand in hand. So if you could kind of write a story involving mystery and AI, like a dream project almost, what would that dream project revolve around?
Well, at the moment, the dream project is revolving around kind of trying to look ahead a little bit into what AI could become and how it's going to affect people. I guess my dream project in general, and I'm thinking back about all the books that I've written, there's always a seed of something that I'm fascinated by, and some sort of an idea that I'm curious about, and I'm want to do research about and want to know more about, and then I want to share that information with the readers. And I've had a pretty broad range of interests over the years. If you look at all the books that I've written, I have some that have a huge tie into history. I have some that are futuristic. I have a couple books that are kind of set in a fantasy world, some that are realistic contemporary. I feel very lucky that I've been able to jump around a lot and do different genres. And and of course, also I should mention the mysteries that I've done. But I think the common thread for me is that there's almost always some sort of a secret that someone is keeping in one of my books. And sometimes the point of the story is someone desperately trying to keep something hidden and not let other people find something out. Or sometimes there's a secret and the main characters are trying to figure out what's really going on and what's going on behind the scenes that they're not aware of because they can see mysterious things going on. And so usually when I'm writing a story, I kind of feel like I'm just dropping clues along the way. And I feel like I'm doing that even when I'm writing something that isn't a traditional mystery. I'm still kind of giving hints of things along the way that I want readers to be thinking, oh, I've got to find out what happens next.
Yeah, I think like that's a great dream project. I think you honestly do a great job with like, all your mystery works as well as your other works. I think they just kind of really tie in the suspense part of the story really well.
Thank you.
So this is our time. Thank you so much, Margaret, for coming on the show.
Oh, you are very welcome. Good luck with everything that you do with your podcast.
Thank you so much. Everyone listening to this episode, I'll be linking once again Margaret's website in the show notes. Feel free to check out our books, and I'll see you all next time.